just about to start. I say welcome, thanks for joining the webinar. This is the first MOS ticketing and membership webinar tonight. Some of you may have joined our previous webinars, so we'll know what to expect. We have a 2-hour time slot booked, so I'm sure we'll cover most topics. At MOS, there are very many different ways that we try to engage with members and supporters. As ISLO, I try to speak with as many fans as possible to listen to their views. These views help with our position when speaking with the club, whether that's with the Fans Forum, Fan Advisory Board, or with individuals in the club. Your voice matters. The webinar is an important way to engage with you and you with us. We'll try to answer as many questions as we can tonight. Some of the questions raised may lead to further discussion, and with that, let me introduce our panel for tonight. We've got myself, Ian, Sam from the ticket office, season ticket holder and loyalty pot member Zig, Deborah from both the men's and women's games, Mark from the men's and women's games, and Dips and Nick, who are both season ticket holders. We have a wide range of panelists from both the men's and women's games. All are season ticket holders and long-time supporters. There are 3 members of the Fans Forum here tonight, 2 of the FAB, and 1 of the loyalty pot, so I think we can speak with some experience and knowledge. We also have Sam Kelleher here with us tonight as a panelist, a familiar name to all. Thank you to all our panelists for agreeing to join us tonight. There's been lots of changes to ticketing at United in the past 3 seasons. The introduction of digital ticketing was one major change. I'm sure that'll lead to more discussion. The introduction of transfers of tickets was well received. Taking away the ability to transfer to non-members wasn't well received. This season, we saw more flexible ticketing. For season ticket holders, you can now opt out competition by competition. There's also a cup season ticket, all major changes. But there have been changes that have not been well received. Minimum attendance for season ticket holders is one we're sure to get questions on tonight. Engagement with supporters is an area that is improving all the time, and even more so recently with the appointment of a supporter engagement officer. We hope to hold more webinars in the future. If you have any suggestions on what you'd like to see, please let us know. We have a number of questions pre-submitted. You will all be able to submit questions tonight. We expect there'll be questions that are submitted that cannot be answered tonight, but we will make every effort to get back to you with an answer after the webinar. So, what are the topics that spring to mind for people that we'd like to kick off the discussion with tonight before we get some questions coming in?
I think one of them that I've been asked about a lot is about the ballots. So Sam, how random are these ballots that we have? And, you know, what's the process behind the ballots and how does it work?
So there's 4 different kinds of ballots. I assume the most contentious will be domestic away ticketing. So we receive an allocation of tickets. We will carve that allocation up into the publicised pots. So we have a loyalty pot, which started just over 20 years ago now, which originally had 1,500 members in it. That currently stands at around 500 members. And each of those members are guaranteed, for want of a better phrase, an 80% success rate. So that will be the first pot that is run. The algorithm behind that is very technical, and I won't get into the details of it, but a truly random number is taken and placed against each application that has been made. That is then sorted into an order and the ballot is processed that way. So it is all done entirely via a system. I think not many people watching this, and probably no one on the panel, will have seen we've shared videos of how that ballot takes place via our Disabled Supporters Association in the past. So we'll take that allocation for the loyalty pot. We then have an executive allocation. The executive allocation is 11% of each away allocation, and that's representative of the number of executive facilities at Old Trafford. So we deemed, and through the Fans Forum agreed, that was the fairest way to carve that pot up again. Again, it is a truly random ballot. So you will see hundreds of stories on Twitter or forums talking about some people have been successful every single game. Some people have been unsuccessful for 20 games in a row. How can it be random if that is the case? But that just reiterates the fact it is random, and there are those unique cases where you do see outliers, such as people being successful a lot and people being unsuccessful a lot. And then the third element, which is now the majority of the allocation, previously it was the smallest part of the allocation, is the standard pot, as we refer to it. So that's any season ticket holder with silver or above status that has purchased all home cup games in the current season. So again, all of those applications go into the tickets that remain, and that random ballot is run again. So one of the things we've talked about, Ian, in the past is whether we can video one of the ballots taking place. It is difficult because there's lots of personal information comes up as part of that process, but that's something we're looking to do and push out onto the website over the coming months. So in short, whilst there are 3 elements to that away game ballot, excluding disabled supporters, which is treated differently, each element within is completely randomised. In terms of domestic home games, it's exactly the same, other than we said for the higher demand Premier League matches, we would take people's previous attendance in the current season, or the number of times they tried to purchase a ticket in the current season, and weight the initial ballot in favour of those that had come to the most matches. And then in terms of European away games, pretty contentious issue after the system failure last Friday for the 0 credits for Barcelona. We've moved away from a ballot and gone to a full credit, but a request has come to us through Must and the forum to review that for future matches after Barcelona. So the very short answer, and not to take 2 hours answering one question, is it is truly random. There is a technical explanation that I can share that's very boring and talks about hexadecimal values and exactly how that randomization is done, but I can share that separately. But it is truly random with no human intervention.
So you touched upon the return tickets. So one of the issues that we have, it's commendable that you've asked for our opinion in the survey, and we just want to know, like, when are we likely to know about the survey results for how the aways and how they will be allocated, and also when are we likely to see those changes implemented?
Changes implemented for Leeds is the aim.
Okay.
Not to the results haven't been confirmed yet. As of last Friday or over the weekend, there was a clear favourite, which was from memory option 4, which was to give a priority window to those people who'd been unsuccessful for the most games, and that would be followed by, if those people didn't exercise the right to the ticket, or we got more tickets returned on the Thursday, Friday leading up to the game, reverting to the current process of, and again, for want of a better phrase, fastest finger first in terms of online releases.
That's good. Yeah, I mean, away tickets are always going to be contentious. There are people who have been unsuccessful for quite a number of games, and I think this will be a fairer way.
Yeah, we always know that demand's going to outweigh supply.
Yes.
with things like this, but we just want it to be transparent and fair for everybody involved, because there are people out there who've not had any. I've spoken to someone today who said they've put 12 applications in and had 0 success. Everyone should get a chance to obviously go there, but it's about being fair, and I think getting rid of the whole refreshing of the screen as well would help big time, because I don't think a lot of people have time to sit there refreshing the screen every 2 minutes. People work, they've got jobs and responsibilities, so yeah, it's a welcome change.
Well, things, to be fair, we're part way through the season and we're looking at introducing something new. And, you know, a part of the thing with Sam being on the call today has been, you know, open with people and some transparency, and to change something through the season like this. Actually, I think it shows good progress, working with, you know, with the fans forum, where the requests has come through with discussions with ourselves. So I think it's a real benefit that we can tweak these things all together. On that, we've got some questions that have come through, which may be quite relevant now. So, first one from Tony Russell: how can we change the distribution of away game tickets? Been to every home game, had one in the ballot. No lots, and I mean lots who don't attend home games but go to all aways. It's I think we've more or less covered that one. We're trying to address the the issue with distribution and trying to make it as fair as possible, and that's what we fed back. Next one from Mike Turner. What is the underlying reluctance to allow season ticket holders to move location within the stadium? This is now our 4th season, and despite the promises made at the time of initially taking on our seats in Tier 3, we have not been moved. We all renewed during COVID. We opted into all cup schemes. So I think that's more about being able to move and some of the challenges that there have been more recent in recent seasons with seat moves.
Just before I answer that one, just to go back to, I think he said it was Tommy had asked the question about distribution.
Mike Turner.
Mike Turner, sorry. Just on that one, the methodology, for want of a better phrase, that's applied to the ballots, i.e. that we have a historic loyalty pot that is increasing in age and a younger following that has no chance of getting into that loyalty pot. That's something we discuss at every fans forum. I think everyone in the club now appreciates that format for the loyalty pot probably wasn't the right one to be introduced. Just in terms of how we will consider a wholesale review of distribution of tickets, that's something that we've said we won't do, just being completely honest, until we understand who is attending games. So for every game, we'll get between 7,000 and 10,000 applications. We never see anybody forward tickets. We never see anybody cancel tickets. But then when we do collections, we see 50% of people in the standard pot or from the executive allocation cancel their tickets or forward them to someone else, and a still high but much lower percentage of 25% in the loyalty pot. So that tells us that there's lots of fake applications going in, or lots of applications from people who will throw in 10 applications because they know they might have more of a chance of getting a ticket. Until we get that number down, and that number coming down to just being people who want to go to games making an application for a game, the issue might disappear in its entirety, because you might see success rates go from 25 to 30%, 50 to 75%. But I took from the question that you read, Ian, that was about the wider distribution. And again, we discussed it in every fans forum, but just to put out there that is why it hasn't been reviewed in recent years. But we do understand.
My apologies, I gave the wrong name. It was from a Tony Russell.
So the second question, sorry, about seat moves. I'm going to say unfortunately, but it's just demand led. So we have a reducing stadium capacity. So we used to be able to get over 76,000 people into the ground because of the number of changes we've made, implementation of safe standing, more significantly the expansion, the quite vast expansion of the accessible platforms. We're now down to, we probably won't see a higher crowd than we did against City at the weekend, which was 73,500. Of that 73,500 seats, 3,000 are locked away for the away fans. You then got things like the director's box, etc., which is never going to be publicly available. Then we have 63,000 seasonal facility holders. What we used to have was 10 to 15% of those not renewing each season. And that gave much more flexibility in terms of being able to relocate people who had taken a seat in Tier 3 on the proviso they'd get to move in year X, Y, and Z. Last year's churn was 4%, which leaves a tiny number. What compounded that issue last year was we also had 4,000 people that took a 1-year break that we offered after COVID. So last year was a particularly difficult year. Being completely honest, in terms of this season, I don't see it changing much. I think the fact that the team are not back to where we were a decade ago, but are playing well on the pitch. Everyone's excited about what next season will bring. So being completely honest, I don't see significant improvements for people who want to change seats next season. What we do is, since we moved ticketing system, which took place during COVID, we will put a seat move option online for a week to 2 weeks. The issue is that the seats that people want generally haven't been made available because everybody renews the seats at the moment.
That's a pretty comprehensive answer. Panelists, if you'd like to jump in at any time, feel free. You'll have your own questions as well. We'll give you plenty of opportunity.
Well, one of the questions I have, and I've seen a lot of this on social media, is the hospitality tickets that are popping up. And that's a big thing, because I think that whilst you've said that you've not increased the hospitality in the stadium, and obviously not, and none of the season ticket holder seats are being sold, then resold for hospitality, why are we seeing tickets pop up? And especially, and I think recently one, which is not a hospitality area. So going on with those hospitality seats and tickets.
So to absolutely guarantee, we will never take a season ticket holder seat that is listed for resale and then sell that as hospitality. That's a commitment we've made. We put that in writing in a recent, very long email to season ticket holders. So may have been missed by a lot. In terms of hospitality, we have made changes this season. So historically, and I'll put this number out there, 3,000 seats are held for hospitality for each match. That isn't a change this season. That's been in place for well over a decade. To confirm the utilisation of those, and I'm going to have to look at my other screen to give you an exact number here. To date this season, prior to the City game, 1,763 of those seats on average had been handed back to official members. So the change we have made this season is we've put those tickets on what we refer to as the main purchase flow, which they haven't been in the past. Normally it's been a separate section. Part of the reason for that, referring back to the fans forum, Ian, is not a lot of criticism for a number of years about the number of tickets that are available to official members. We said we would trial hospitality being available through that route, because whilst it's not to 95%, or 95% of people might not want to purchase that, 5% do. There has been a lot of tickets sold through that route this season. And we believe that we obviously, or hopefully it's obvious, we try and do a lot of work in relation to touting. There's a lot of touting exercises that we do undertake, but the reason people go to touts is they can't see tickets available on our website. The tickets that we're selling on our website, inclusive of hospitality, are cheaper than what people are paying from touts. So it's made more tickets, albeit they are more expensive, accessible to people looking to attend games as a one-off. B, we think it helps with touting. C, we do not, we will never increase that 3,000 tickets and take more tickets from the members' allocations. In terms of the seating locations, the East Lower example, there's been a couple of examples in the Stretford end. The seats that were available in East Lower were added into the stadium partway through the season. So the area that you're referring to was originally part of the extended accessible platform. So that ran, originally it was going to run the entirety of East Lower round into North Stand and to the halfway line. Those plans then got changed, but as part of building that area, we extended the vomitory significantly. What we've now done is reduce that down to a normal vomitory and added back in, I think it's about 100 seats into the area. So the hospitality team saw those seats, put those seats on sale. We quickly saw the reaction and decided not to do it again, but they were not season ticket seats. There are a lot of seats in the stadium that we sell as part of hospitality packages that aren't in executive areas, because a lot of the hospitality that we do is off-site, for example, at the cricket club or at Victoria Warehouse. So the hospitality element for those tickets is handled externally, and then the seats are just whatever seats we can find in the stadium. What's compounded that this year is we already have a cram-packed stadium, and we've made a commitment to the Red Army, to the atmosphere section. We will continue at their area, which can give us the details of who will be attending those matches until the game is confirmed. So anything from 8 weeks to 4 weeks because of TV selections, etc., etc. So until we get those seats back, we're eating into all of the other allocations that we hold, which has been the case for a couple of years. It's just now visible because we've moved that application process or the purchase journey into that main flow.
There's a comprehensive answer for you.
And the short answer, it's selling hospitality and continuously increasing executive club prices for the last decade that have enabled us to do price freezes for season tickets. So whilst it won't be popular, we're not ashamed of selling hospitality, and we will maximize it for those bigger games, as in maximize the price that we charge.
Okay, thanks, Sam. Number of questions that I've got here for around away tickets. First one from Chris Walker. Are the ballots weighted in terms of the number of previous applications? Or if I apply just once in a season, do I have the same chance as someone in my category that has applied for every game?
Not weighted and the same chance.
From Chris Walker. Excuse me, sorry, yes, another one from Chris Walker. I'm an OAP and therefore applying in the restricted pool of OAP numbers. Would it be better? Would he have a better chance if he was paying full price and able to apply in that group?
No.
No. David Taylor. I don't recall receiving any notice from the club for the timing of the FA Cup match versus Reading. Why are season ticket holders not informed immediately of fixture dates and times once confirmed or changed?
In terms of changes to fixtures, that's something we are reviewing. So we used to send a notification that a fixture had changed. We felt it unnecessary going forwards because of, well, Sky Sports will have fixture notifications pushed out in 2 minutes, and we send a lot of emails to season ticket holders. So to split it into two, the notification of a change, we will start to do that going forwards. The notification for Reading, for example, communications, we now try and do a communication pre-match. So emails go out ahead of the draw covering every eventuality, because in short, we would have thousands of inbound inquiries by the time we manage to get something together post-draw. That we can take away and confirm it, and take it away and review it. We will still need to do pre-match notifications. It just feels to us that it's out there in the public domain everywhere once fixtures are changed, but we're happy to push those notifications out.
Sure. Maybe a question for the panel. How do you keep up to date on when fixtures are going to take place? It may add some advice to some of the people who are asking questions.
I think social media is one of the quickest ways. That's how I find out about dates and fixtures.
Yeah.
I don't know about anybody else.
Similar to, I suppose it's the social channels, and then just keep checking through. Obviously, I know we all probably go with friends and stuff like that, so WhatsApp, Twitter, etc.
Yeah.
And I appreciate what Sam says. I suppose you do contact us quite a lot as it is. So with the fixture changes, it's up to other areas, I think.
And maybe one for Mark and Deborah as well, both the women's team, which they're really confusing for used to. How do you do it?
Great difficulty sometimes. Go on, Mark.
Yeah, I was going to say with great difficulty. It's looking at fixtures. Obviously, looking at when you're initially asking if there's going to be a clash. There's only been one home clash, I think, this season, where the men were at home and the women were at home. Otherwise, we've been all right. I think it's one of those things where social media is a massive help, because there's usually a few leaks before they come out officially, so we all kind of have an idea. With the women's side of things, I mean, as Sam will know from conversations we've had, you don't get told anything till literally the day before the women's game takes place with TV picks. So I look at the men's side first, and then we look at the women's and we go, those will probably clash. This weekend was a perfect example. City, Liverpool for the women on yesterday, up until the TV pick was made to put City on at 12:30, it was a clash. Both of them were playing at the same time.
And the other complication with the women's games is that obviously because a lot of the women's teams play at lower level men's grounds, they have to men's fixtures sorted first, then they'll announce the women's. So it tends to be that the notification comes much later. But yeah, social media is really the place. It's one of those, somebody will put something out, another person will retweet it or put it in a WhatsApp group. And that goes for men's and women's fixtures as far as we're concerned.
What we can do there, in the next message we put out, we can do a sign up thing for people who want to receive them from us.
Excellent.
Yeah, good idea.
Okay. I'll fire through some questions for us. There's quite a few coming in now. Chris Walker, why no text to alert that away game applications are open? It used to be a real useful service. Now it's stopped.
So the reason it stopped was we got quite a lot of feedback to say people didn't know which channel to keep an eye on for our communications. We did text for some things, emails for other things, telephone calls for other things. We decided to move to a primary method of communication of email because we hold an email address for every single season ticket holder. We don't hold mobile numbers for everyone. The majority we do. Why did we stop sending the notifications out? We list what day every ballot will open at the start of the season on the away games page. We feel that's enough. We can do what I've just suggested with the last one, which is offer a sign up to notifications. It also leads to less applications and higher success rates, but I'll let you guys decide what you want us to do on that.
There's a very good independent service that I've heard about for a notification for away game ballots. Maybe he needs to log on to the ISLO account on Twitter and he'll get all the details.
I mean, on that point, the Telegram account that you run in for match days is brilliant for me.
Yeah.
It keeps it's the one thing that I always look at when I apply for the aways. I wouldn't know otherwise because I used to sign up for the tech service, but I've used the Telegram one instead.
Yeah, great service. Not spammed.
Would you like us to promote your Telegram service? Is that where this is?
Can I just say something?
Yes,
I
of
think
course.
we should all take a bit of personal responsibility as well, guys.
Yeah.
You know, check the information's there. Go and look for it. Put it into your diaries or whatever it is. I'm old, so I still use a paper diary. Stick it into your phone. Come on, you know, we're grown-ups, most of us. We don't need everybody to hold our hands all the time.
Fair point. Fair point.
I mean, that would be my answer if I could say that.
Well, access to information is amazing now. You can find out anything from anywhere in the world at any time. It's but yeah, it was useful to some people, and if there are some changes, sometimes people find it a bit difficult. I'm going to fire through some of these questions. Some of them we may have covered. Just give it a short answer if so. Gary Nielsen, restrictions on season ticket renewals and qualification. How many games are now being played at 8 o'clock and therefore restrict or reduce the opportunity for season ticket holders, especially older season ticket holders, and those travelling considerable distance, which could be ultimately therefore lead to the refusal to renew by the club? So I think this is the 10-19 rule, isn't it?
Yeah.
Caused a large number of people that have contacted ISLO, and I'm sure people from the fans, representatives on the fans forum as well, and everyone else would have heard plenty of noise about this on Twitter previously. I think there's a lot of people who are upset. Do we want to cover the 10-19 rule, Sam?
Yes, I do. So we at the club, and hopefully the fans, are proud that we sell out our stadium every week. However, we had a growing issue with people who had purchased tickets not turning up to games. To put that into numbers, last season the average was 14.9% of people that had purchased a ticket didn't use it. Now, That's extremely high, and that is a trend that was growing and growing. So that's why we look to introduce the policy. Do I think the policy is fair? I did in the summer. I still do now. I have more sympathy with people given the volume of late kickoffs and fact that Brentford and Chelsea, should we progress through both competitions, will move to a midweek game along with Leeds, etc., etc. I think to caveat that, the only people that would be penalised for not personally attending are over 65s. We've confirmed to Must and the Fans Forum that we will review that over the next few weeks, and before we announce renewals for next season, make a decision on whether that policy remains. In terms of all other supporters, for every Premier League match this season, the buyback scheme, where we just give everyone all of their money back, has been live until turnstiles have opened. So I don't see any reason why anyone who had made any genuine attempt to either attend the game or cancel a ticket would fall short on one ticket, let alone the 9 that are currently in the policy. I think it's completely fair, and personally think it should be a higher threshold than 50%. If we reach a point in time where we're rolling cup games into that and we're struggling to sell tickets that are listed for resale, or we're not accepting donations to the foundation, then we'll of course take that into account. But for every single league game, sorry, I lied before, apart from Bournemouth this season, it stayed open until the turnstiles have closed. Notts Forest and Bournemouth, we did it a little bit earlier than that. But given our announcement at the start of the season that we would cut off the buyback 14 days before each game, I think it's going far better than we could have expected it to.
Do we have any data on the numbers of people who may be at risk of not being offered a renewal or not retaining their discount for next season?
We do, but my zero key's jammed down on my computer and it's overwriting everything on the screen that I've got. But as we speak, and this number will just reduce because we've had a very small number of home games given the time of the year we're in because of the World Cup break. As we speak now, it would be just under 500. In terms of utilizations of the schemes, on average, 7,500 people are forwarding the tickets for each game, 500 are donating, and it's increasing quite rapidly. 2,000 are asking for a refund.
Okay, it's interesting to get those figures. And just remind everyone who's listening and watching in as well, if you upvote the questions that have been submitted, it'll give us an indication of what people would like to see answered as well, so that will assist us. What I'd like to kind of ask the panel is, what do you think of the changes that were introduced this season in terms of being able to donate, forward? Are these the kind of things that you use? Do you think it is an improvement? Maybe what about the flexibility with season tickets now, the different options that are available? Do you think it's been an improvement?
Can I just add 2 more points before people respond?
Yeah, sure.
So Saturday's game against City was every game sells out. Lots of people don't turn up. That's what I started the conversation with. Saturday's game against City was down to a 2% no-show rate. That's 3 times better than any other game on record. In terms of this season to date, we've dropped down from that rough 15% average no-show, to use internal terminology, to 7%. So we've more than halved the number of people that are wasting tickets. The flip side of that is it's making about an extra 10,000 tickets a game available to members. So to the earlier point of hospitality, yes, matches do always look sold out. That's because even when we were winning trophies, never seen demand like we're seeing at the moment. But I just think that's some interesting context for people to consider before.
It's amazing what happens when you start to win games, isn't it? So we've got 3 options open for season ticket holders now, where You can transfer your ticket to a member. I'm sure we'll come back to that question later. You can use a buyback now. For a league game, there's no penalty in terms of you can still apply for away games, cup games, it's different. And you can donate a ticket to the Manchester United Foundation, which has gone really well and raising some good money. So do you think those have been good introductions? Do you think it's benefited season ticket holders? Good to get your views on it.
Yeah, I'd say, Ian, it's a great initiative because obviously there's a lot going on in the world at the moment with cost of living, etc. And I think it gives people a chance to, if you're at different stages of your life, you can be flexible with a certain amount of home games. Obviously, I'm still quite sort of young, so my priority is to get to the game. But I suppose a lot of my mates are starting to have kids and stuff, and as people get older, you might have a few more commitments in your life. So I think it's a great initiative to give that flexibility without being punished, if you like.
Yeah, I've used the ticketing forwarding a couple of times, and it works fine. It's a great initiative from the club. It gives members a chance who might have been unsuccessful in the ballot to get to a game. So over Christmas, my niece and my nephew, we forwarded them their tickets for the Notts Forest game, and it worked really well.
Excellent.
Just so everyone knows as well, I think we've made a couple of changes that we didn't consider before launching these already this season. So I think initially we said that if people cancelled or a league game, they'd lose their eligibility for away games. So that's now been changed because there's not really a difference between someone forwarding a ticket and cancelling a ticket. So as these things get flagged to us, we do consider them. We did make that change. And the other important thing to note is anyone that uses any of those three options, it counts towards attendance. It will not be held against anyone in any way, shape or form. And going back to the very long email we sent recently, we have a history of making changes without giving people notice. We're trying to change that. It's taken quite a lot of internal conversation to get agreements to change that. But in that email, we confirmed that if we were going to change how we allocate away tickets, we'd always give people a full year's notice to enable them to change their behaviour. So if we were going to say, and I'll make something up, we look at how many games you personally attend and we'll weight away ballots in favour of that. We'd always give that full season notice and never backdate anything without giving people information first.
Okay, thanks. I'm going to fire through some questions now. They're starting to be upvoted, so that assists us with that. There's quite a few, so I'll go through them. From Daniel Ballot, as a regular match goer, I was very disappointed that Barcelona at home was not first put up to a ticket ballot. My chances for a ticket were just the same as someone who had bought a membership 5 minutes before the sale. I would have liked at least to have had the chance of a ticket in a fair ballot. Why wasn't Barca at home balloted?
I don't want to blame Fans Forum because it's not a Fans Forum responsibility. The agreement we reached in terms of what games would be balloted and what wouldn't was for Premier League games only. Barcelona did highlight that we should widen that to other competitions. So, for example, we would have had the same scenario had we drawn City at home in the Carabao Cup, albeit that Nottingham Forest sold out in 3 minutes. I think the latest status on that is we've got a forum coming up. We have it on the agenda in there and propose to change it immediately after that forum, subject to approval from the forum. So if a high demand fixture is on the agenda, irrespective of competition, we will put it to a ballot and apply the credits for the previous purchases in line with what we do with Premier League games.
I think that's answered some of the later questions. There was a lot of contention with that, as people may have attended group games previously and then been in the same chance as someone who just bought a membership. So
I think that's also the same with the Barcelona away tickets. So we had the initial ballot and they all went through. When they got down to 0 credits, there was this mad rush to go online, and the website crashed, by the way, which is another point we need to pick up on, the functionality of that website. But it just seemed as if, and I know that there were people who had purchased a membership the week before, and they've now managed to get an away ticket for Barcelona as their first ever United game. Now, I don't begrudge anybody going to their first game at all, but I'll give him an example. My dad, he's gone down to 0 credits because of COVID, and he's had ill health. So he's got flights and hotels and everything booked. Went onto the website, it crashed, and he couldn't get a ticket. So he's had a season ticket now for the best part of 20 years. And so obviously, I think that also needs to be looked at in terms of returns for European aways. Should they not filter down in credits? And then when it gets to 0 credits, perhaps look at giving them to, platinum season ticket holders first on 0, and then filtering them down all the way till the end. And that's something that we should perhaps look at as well, because I don't think the current system's fair, let alone the home one, so the away one as well.
In terms of European away games, all the changes made in recent years have been done via the fans forum. So I think if that's submitted as a proposal to the fans forum, I don't think anyone would disagree that a season ticket holder with 0 credits should get priority over someone purchasing a membership. We're happy to, that's one area I think, I keep looking at Ian, but we have full flexibility in terms of making changes to how we do things. So Ian, if we can just get that raised in the next forum, we've made a commitment that these changes will all be made via the forum.
Yeah.
If we need to accelerate it to an email conversation because there isn't one until March to mitigate the next round, then we can do that by email. But it's good to have these conversations because,
yes,
for example, dips, there's been a lot of conversation following Barcelona, but that example has never been brought up.
Yeah.
And it's a valid one we should consider.
Yeah, so it just needs to be looked at. I think it just needs to be fair, because otherwise, what's the benefit of having a season ticket if you can't even be? There needs to be something back for the loyalty that fans show. And traveling to Europe, my dad's now going ticketless, and he's fine. We'll sort it out, I'm sure. But there's plenty of people in that position. And whilst, like I said before, you don't begrudge people going to their first game, but you do feel like if I've travelled to Europe, home and away and everything else, then why are season ticket holders not getting that preferential treatment, which they should? So I'm glad that's been brought up, and it will hopefully be done.
There has been discussions that have already been taking place about
okay.
modifying the system.
And then the other point goes onto the website. So when these tickets go on sale, you can't even get onto the website. So is that something that's going to be looked at perhaps and addressed?
Yes. So the system actually crashed 3 times that week. So it crashed on I'll get my games wrong. There was a game on the Tuesday. We then had the initial Barca release on the Wednesday, and we had the 0 credit Barcelona release on the Friday. It actually crashed on all 3. It was nothing to do with volume on the site. So, for example, for the Forest game, which we launched last Thursday or Friday, there was, I think, 45,000 people queuing to purchase that one. Barcelona 0 credits peaked at 26,000. There was another ticket release we did the week before where we had 146,000 people in the queue. We don't have our own ticketing system. We do use an external provider. Unfortunately, there was just 3 big mistakes that were very, very, very poorly timed on their part. But at the end of the day, none of you care who we use. It's Manchester United that you're interacting with. We've made it very clear. We've identified what the issue was. I won't bore you with the details, but in short, that issue will not reoccur.
Great, let's hear that. Dips, can I just answer the other part of your question on people travelling to the game? The club have recently launched a registration scheme for people who will travel, who will be able to take a late ticket. So we would hope that every ticket that is allocated on a European away game, which is always in high demand, will get used, and that hasn't been the case previously. So I think that's a good system. I'm conscious we've got quite a number of questions in. Lots of people are upvoting them now, so we could about 60, 70 questions to answer here. First one, Jonathan Neal has asked, is there any plans to relocate the away supporters at Old Trafford? We've seen the issues for a number of years with the disabled supporters directly below them.
The short answer is, at this time, no. We have discussed and communicated plans to redevelop the stadium. Part of that redevelopment would be what is the right place for the away fans. No matter where we move away fans to, there's people on this call who reacted very negatively to us looking to move them to the third tier a few years ago. So immediately, no. The obvious solution is put them into the East Stand tier 2. The problem is people were at the Everton game. You can see that there's police being taken in there because people are throwing bottles down on all of the United fans. That doesn't change the experience for the disabled fans who are in front of them now, but we're looking at ways of mitigating that in the short term. People look and say, do the city model where you give them 2 blocks there, 1 block there, because you've got to meet the rule of having part of the allocation pitch side. The short answer is we are regularly asked to review this by a number of fan groups that we work with. We've done a lot of work on it, and with the existing infrastructure of the stadium, it isn't something we can do at this time, but it will be very high up on the priority list for a redeveloped or new stadium.
Khalid asks, why is it proving so difficult to stop major touting for away games? Some companies are guaranteed to be selling for every match at massively inflated prices. Surely there must be some consistent source, and if so, I don't understand why it's so hard to track it down. It fuels the conspiracy theories that people in the ticket office are the ones responsible.
So I can assure you that people in the ticket office are not responsible. I've been in the ticket office for 23 years, and we have a number of ways of identifying if people attempt that stuff, and they are immediately removed from the company. There have been attempts because obviously people will try and get into people's pockets. There's not an awful lot we can do. We buy on average at an average price of £500 a ticket, 20 to 30 tickets for each away game off websites. 90% of those tickets don't materialize. A lot of what is being advertised is fake. I've already touched on the applications and realizing who is applying. We've touched on largely in the forum, but partially in this meeting, the collections. People get annoyed by collections, but I think we're now at a point where every collection we do is at a stadium, so it's taking people a minute or 2 out of their way. We want to increase the number of collections because that's the only way that we're going to eradicate the issue. The other thing that I'll reiterate is if anybody gets a ticket off somebody and it isn't in their name, that is ticket touting. So if people give us the seat details of the person of the game, the seat details they used for the game, if they bought it off a tout, we will immediately stop that person from receiving tickets again.
Yeah, thank you. From Julie Dixon, why does United not have a membership scheme which rewards loyalty and gives priority to members according to how long you've been a member? Any member of the public, including Liverpool or City fan, can buy a ticket by buying a membership at the same time. Other clubs reward loyalty, e.g. Arsenal's tiered membership or other points-based schemes.
I think there's a few different reasons. I think we want to have as many season ticket holders as we can do in the stadium. The qualification for being a season ticket holder is now based on loyalty. So cup season ticket holders will receive priority, etc., etc. I think we're a bit different to any other club in that we have a truly global fan base. And if we introduce a tiered membership schemes, for example, at the minute we have a light membership, a full membership, and a premium membership. If we gave ticket priority to those premium memberships, that's a closed group of people, which will add to the touting issue we have and cut off supply to 90% of our fans. So I think we've just always felt it's the fairest way to do it. We have addressed concerns about that in recent fans forums and discussed in this meeting that when it gets to those bigger games, then we will look at people's attempts to access tickets during the course of the season and give them priority in the ballot. But ultimately, with the demand we've got, we need to give access to as many members as we can. So for me, it's more about how can we make more tickets available. And by going out to a season ticket holder and saying, if you're not coming, let us give you your £45 on average back, then that literally has increased tenfold the number of tickets available this season.
Okay, thank you. Question from Lauren Appleton. I know someone, excuse me, let's move. I know someone who already has their Leeds away ticket confirmed, as they will be getting it from a club employee. This happens often. Is there a monitoring of where tickets for the club staff and players end up in the same way you know where a season ticket holder's ticket ends up?
So no staff get access to tickets. Players do get access to tickets. That's what leads to all of the return tickets in the lead up to the game. So there's 200 tickets held for players. That's based on each player having the right to purchase up to 6 tickets. We think that's fair. Ultimately, if someone's child is playing for Manchester United, we think that the parent should be able to go and watch it, and family members. However, the allocation is very rarely utilised. No fans have tickets because we haven't, or at the point the question may have been submitted, we've not done the ballot. So I'd just say send me the information. I'm happy to share my email address. And if it is a player that is guaranteeing tickets, then that's something we'll look into. If it's a staff member in any way, I can assure you they haven't processed the ticket, so it isn't assured, but it will be handled immediately. I would not believe that is true, is my short answer.
Okay. Steve Hayward Jones asks, this season you introduced new ticketing software which lacked engagement from the fans from a CX customer experience perspective, and the system appears to be fixed as we go along. It happened, but how do you know, how do you now approach implementing new features and bug fixes? Do you prioritize according to data analysis? There are many bugs and shoe-on features that don't really do what's required. How do you give fans feedback on improvements? Quite a detailed question, that one.
I'm not going to give a very detailed answer. So you can't build your own ticketing system because it is very complex, some of the stuff that is associated with it. So there's probably 5 major players. We used to be with in the early 2000s, they were the front runner in the league. They had the best functionality. They were quick with developments. They turned around balloting for us really quickly when we moved to a balloting system rather than a postal system where you could put the green pen down the token sheets and basically say that you'd been to every game and probably getting the loyalty pot off it. So we were with till COVID. For the last decade, their development was non-existent, which was what forced the change. We moved to the best system that is out there at the moment, but no ticketing system is agile in terms of its development. So if we find an issue, we can put a workaround in place. There's a number of workarounds already in place. There is a development list. That development list currently has a 2-year roadmap, and we prioritize it in terms of the number of people that are utilizing each of those functions. So for example, the fact that you have to go to a different part of the ticketing site to list your ticket for resale as to the part that you would go to forward your ticket makes absolutely no sense, but we're looking at 6 months for that change to be made. So I think the short answer is we do use data. We do know the system isn't perfect. The system is 10 times better than the one we were using pre-COVID, but there is no perfect ticketing system out there.
Just touching upon the website and talking about tickets, how you're able to upgrade a ticket from a concession. You can't downgrade one yet. Is that something that will also be looked at in terms of changes on the website, or is that something that you won't deal with?
two answers. Historically, that was a policy decision by the club.
Right.
I think we've moved on from that era. However, no ticketing system provider offers functionality for people to downgrade their tickets.
Mm-hmm.
We raised this with them recently, and they said it is on the roadmap for this year, as in 2023. We've asked that that's accelerated in time for the start of the 22-23 season, so by July. We'll update as we hear on that. But it used to be a policy decision. We've moved on from there. We'd happily allow a over 65 to receive a refund if they pass it to an under 60.
Sure.
So it's coming. Excellent.
I just won't say when.
Okay.
But yes, it's coming.
Glenn Gormley, I think we've answered that one already in terms of the Barca home games being balanced and the reasons why. There'll be a change for that one. Another question: as a gold season ticket holder, I was really disappointed that my away credit was reset after 3 years. And with the pandemic not being able to travel, meant that I have 0 credits. And I have tried to apply for European away games with no success. And then hoped would get Barcelona away. We're surprised that members who would only become members of 3 months ago. So I think we've answered that one really, haven't we, in terms of what we can do there.
But also touching on that point, there have been a number of games that have gone down to 0 credits, and there's been tickets that have been available as well. And earlier on in the season and even last season, I think a lot of them did go. Sam will confirm how many, but a lot of them have gone down to 0 credits.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Atletico Madrid every game.
Yeah.
I was going to say there's ample opportunity to get on the ladder, I think, not to just dismiss that observation.
No,
but,
of course not.
There's been a load of trips where obviously it's been hard to get to, or after COVID, I know everyone's been sort of chomping at the bit to get back. So I suppose it's keeping
We
an
got
eye.
on a plane to Kazakhstan and couldn't fill that.
Yeah, I do think it's slightly unfair for someone to go to a first Euro away. They're going to go somewhere to maybe that's a bit safer, somewhere that they know, and you can understand the demand being there for Barcelona. I think if by the changes that are going to be made, if we try to make it as fair and transparent as possible, then it kind of suits everyone then. But yes, there is ample opportunity to get on those credits, and once you've got them, you can make great use of them and keep them rolling.
Indeed. But one of the other questions I've had a lot of people asking, and I've seen talk about on social media, are the potential Carabao Cup final tickets and what the criteria would be for those, and obviously how they'd be allocated. So obviously that's something you would have thought about by now.
I was going to ask a very similar. I've had a very similar question about cup season ticket holders.
Yeah. And
then someone who's a red who can't apply for aways, will they be allowed to apply for the Carabao Cup final?
So the Carabao, going back to the European away discussion, I think it's completely fair for us to look at, when we get to 0 credits, doing what we discussed earlier and prioritising season ticket holders. Yeah. Just to give some context as to why members receive similar or the same priority as season ticket holders. In terms of those with credits, it's because there's a lot of fans who can travel around Europe 6 times a season to see a match, but because they live outside the UK, can't commit to coming to 19 Premier League games and previously a 4-7 Cup games, although that's now optional. We can review that, but that's the logic behind why members get that similar priority. In terms of the Cup final, this isn't approved. It's being proposed internally, so it can't be taken as given. But the proposal I've put forward is that first priority will go to full season ticket holders with full credits, which I think at that point in time will be 9 home games. And second priority is given to cup season ticket holders with those full 9 credits again. I would expect that would sell out the allocation, so we wouldn't give false hope in terms of full season ticket holders who didn't come to cup games or red season ticket holders. But that's the proposal that's being put forward.
Okay. Can we get back to the questions, because the numbers we've got are not decreasing. More coming in from Andy Rayner. Sam, you mentioned you will refund a ticket bought from a tout. This is the ticket value, I assume, not the price paid to the tout. Also,
No, price paid.
Price paid to the tout. There you go.
Yeah.
More tickets available to members, you say. Also, there's a number of touts stored in the same place, game in, game out. Is there anything that can be done against these people, or anything that us supporters can do to help? Thank you.
So to answer, we will pay the full value that someone has paid. 99% of touting takes place online, so people will be issued with receipts. So if someone comes in with a confirmation email and a valid ticket that they paid £500 for, we'll give them £500. In terms of people operating around the stadium, I did personally used to try and address the situation that presents certain health and safety concerns. It's something I regularly pick up with our security team, and now it's been raised in here, and Ian can back it up in one of our forthcoming fans forums. It's something we can look at again.
Question from Jack Thomas. What happened to the free gifts you used to receive along with the season ticket? Members would receive gifts, however, season ticket holders receive an email with a ticket on.
Correct. I agree with that. That's a good question. Where's my badge, Sam?
I mean, it's a good way of putting
And my pen.
Well,
My
yeah,
little leather holder.
bottle opener is very handy.
When everyone's a smartphone, because we move into full digital ticketing next season. It was removed. I need to check back as to why it was removed. It has been requested on a number of occasions to be re-added when we have discussed it internally. Previous response has been that if people want to purchase the season ticket holder is paying a discounted now ticket price for access to tickets. So that's what's being paid for. There is nothing to stop a season ticket holder purchasing a membership in order to receive the goodie box. However, it has been requested, shall we say. It's not something I see changing this season, but it is definitely something that's being considered.
And on that point, when someone asked me on Friday night about the yearbooks,
Yeah.
they don't like the digital version. They actually like to have the physical book. Is there any chance we can get back to physical yearbooks?
When you say somebody, he means himself, Sam.
No, I don't.
There are copies of the physical yearbook held at the ticket office for those people who really want them.
Okay.
There you go.
Well answered. One from Edward Matthews.
I'm probably full of notes from meetings and things like that. I'm writing in one now, but
we'll pull some notes together for you afterwards, Sam. I doubt we're going to get through all these questions. So can we just say, if anyone has submitted a question we don't get to you, we will get back to you with an answer. There's lots, as we expected, there's lots and lots of questions coming in. Edward, I think we've answered that. The last part of his question was, can you assure me that you will always leave a small allocation to people like him with 0 credits, as he's a school teacher, can't always go during the term? Maybe worth covering the policy of reserving a number of tickets for people on 0 credits.
So we have an agreement on that we will do it for a number of games a season. I think the point's already been made that other than Atletico Madrid and Barcelona, and this will include games outside of school term, that people on 0 credits have had that chance. I think the big thing that we can do there is conversation we're having around, do we change it all back to a ballot, which means people don't have to be sat at a computer at the exact time the tickets are released. So I think there's something we can do, but yes, there is a commitment to people with 0 credits.
Because even with that point, even if you had, so, because they open up for people on 4+ credits at 9 a.m. Even if you had like a day, 24-hour period where everyone could just put their application in within that 24-hour period, and then it would just filter through rather than having to sit there. And then obviously sometimes the website doesn't work when it says it would. It just saves us that time from having to do it. But obviously with short notice, with games coming up and so on, I get that, but it is definitely something we should look at, I think.
I'm committed to doing that.
Good point. Question from Alan Cheatham. Figures on how many season ticket holders opted into each and all of the Auto Cup schemes. Just curious on total eligibility for aways and also any finals, semi-finals should we reach one.
I'll be honest, I don't know off the top of my head. People opted out of all competitions was around 7,000 because that was the number of cup season tickets that we could sell. People that have currently, based on 7 games, so excluding Reading and Forest, purchased all home cup games is 22,000.
Okay, thanks. Question from Steve Haywood Jones. Reader Fans Forum, although this is great, I don't think it covers all areas of our support and is subjective to the forum attendees. I think it would be ideal for a representative. Excuse me, I do apologise, my screen keeps moving. I think it would be ideal for our representatives to have sub-sessions with more fans in their domain to help represent each and get a wider view and opinions. I think me and you can answer that one, Zig, there, can't we? You're on mute, Zig. Zig, you're on mute.
Could you repeat the question? Because I'm trying to deal with a really urgent thing here on the phone.
My apologies. It's about the diversity of the fans forum and the subgroup sessions. I'll answer it, Zig. Sam, if you want to join in. It is quite diverse, the fans forum. We've expanded the number of people who are involved from different areas of the ground. There's more work that can be done to be able to do that, and we're keen for that to happen. There are subgroups which other people are invited into as well, where the topics are more detailed. So rather than everyone being bogged down on one single issue, whether that be allocation of away tickets, which I think is one of the most recent ones, where we came up with the different options for people, and subsequently that has put out a survey to all season ticket holders. I think it is moving in that direction, Steve, but there is more work that needs to be done as well.
Just to give some examples of where we do that, we will have a conversation in the fans forum in terms of, I'll take supporters club as an example here. We'll then have separate subgroup sessions with all 270 whatever it is now supporters club secretaries. Ian's right, there is lots more of this happening, and then I'm always available to jump in any meetings like this. So I think there's an acceptance from the club that we need to engage far more than we do.
I think we're not decreasing the number of questions yet to be answered, Sam. So let's say now that we will do another one of these, because there's so many questions there that keep coming in.
I'm getting quite a few texts, which wasn't what I was dealing with before, but regarding I'll read one out, which is the most cogent. It says, that proposal Sam mentioned on cup season ticket holders getting cup final priority over a full season ticket holder with 8 credits is unfair, particularly with FA Cup ties at 8 PM on Friday and Saturday. Also, will that include those who sold back Burnley in good faith?
We would not impact, sorry, I disagree, it's unfair. So I think we outlined our position clearly at the start of the season that people would lose eligibility for cup finals and away games if they didn't opt in and purchase the competitions. We then, through conversation with the FAB, agreed that we would implement a cup season ticket. That was a fan-led request, and those people who have been to each game will be eligible for the final. Anyone who sold back Burnley, I don't think we did buyback for Burnley. I think we only did it for Everton, but we made it clear in that communication that selling your ticket back for Everton, with it being a cup game, would impact eligibility for finals.
Okay.
Thank you.
Glenn wants to ask again, will the loyalty be implemented for members in the next ballot. I think we've kind of agreed to that, but we've got to put it through the fans forum first. But I can definitely see that getting support, Glenn. So there we go. That one's answered. Brian Murphy. The changing face of membership system has got to a staggering stage where we don't just have memberships. Now we have 4 categories, all based on price and entitlement. A new forwarding membership system. Can you explain how you reach the £15 price point? It seems unnecessarily high, considering it's simply to receive a ticket. Can you consider allowing season ticket holders to specify a certain number of people, family, etc., without them needing to buy a membership?
So I think we've publicly said we have an ambition to have everyone that's in the stadium as a season ticket holder or an official member. The only reason we've introduced the forwarding membership is because, with the exception of the £65 premium membership, we've closed all of the membership schemes to ensure that future ticket releases are protected for those existing members. I personally don't feel that the £15 is excessive. The ticket that's been forwarded is already been forwarded at £8 cheaper than it should be, i.e. the member receiving the ticket should be paying an £8 uplift that we don't charge. The only change that we have made is the previous option that was available was rack rate £25, but for the last couple of months reduced to £20. So we've just reduced the price of that by £5. In terms of nominating family members, I think that's fine, but we have an expectation that those family members would be official members if they weren't season ticket holders. I think that's something we feel quite strongly about as a club.
Okay, thanks, Sam.
And as a reminder, we are begging people to let us give us their money back for the full value of match tickets if they can't personally attend.
Thank you. Daniel Arlott, membership tickets. Will membership tickets ever be able to be transferred from member to member?
That's something we can look at for next season.
Okay, done. Thank you. Alan Cheetham, has a decision been made yet on season ticket and match ticket prices for next season?
The truthful answer is yes. I can't confirm those now. There'll be an announcement at the end of this month, early next month.
Fair answer. My apologies.
I've got a quick question whilst you're scrolling through it.
Yeah, sure.
Safe standing, how much of a success has that been in the stadium, and when are we likely to see it rolled out further? Like, for instance, in the Stretford end where I sit, are we likely to see safe standing there?
But if Ian, that comes through as a separate question that I can get a written response to, we'll do that, or not, and put it into the fans forum for a response there.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, I can speak from personal experience of safe standing and the benefits of it. We campaigned long and hard for the reintroduction of rail seats. We all know the problems with people who wanted to stand being ejected from stadiums. It was wrong. We had the club support with our proposals all the way along. We identified Jay as an ideal site for the trial. The trial was a success, and we're really pleased that it's now being expanded through the stadium where demand is there for it to go in. I think it can only benefit. So it's great to see. Questions not going down. For the recent City game and also the upcoming Barca game, the majority of tickets are sold primarily as hospitality tickets without any ballots. Any reason these were not made available to the general regular fans? I think we've answered that already with what the available.
We released 20,000 tickets so far for hospitality. A further 3,000 will be made available tomorrow once the Red Army have done their relocations. Number of hospitality packages is less than 10% of that.
Mike Morrow, basically his friends, his credit card was hacked. He missed applying for taking payment for a game by the ticket office. His punishment has missed that. He's missed a one-game ban. Is it worth just going through over what the procedure is when a payment is missed?
I can do quickly. So no one's going to like the response, but it's part of the terms and conditions of the schemes that if you opt into a scheme and don't make a payment, you will be suspended from a subsequent Premier League game. That's not made much noise this season until the subsequent game happened to be City. In hindsight, we're probably just going to avoid putting those sanctions on the big games because it really doesn't benefit us in any way. That is the policy. Do we make exceptions to the policy? I mean, if someone's card declines, they get a minimum of 11 attempted contacts from us. If anybody appeals after ignoring those 11 attempts for us to contact them and doesn't make payments, we will, in an appeals process, see if they open those emails. If any of those emails haven't been opened, so for example, if someone's card has been hacked and we've sent 9 emails and 2 text messages and attempted 1 phone call, none of the emails were opened, we will not put that suspension in place. We also, when people talk about being in financial difficulty, have offered to make exceptions for each game this season and say we will opt you out and refund all remaining cup games. But to 200 people we offered that to last month, none of them took that up because they all want to attend the Barcelona match.
Okay, great.
So it's a policy, people don't like it, but we do try and be as human and as flexible as we can be with it.
I think it's fair to say the process behind people missing a payment, people may not be aware of how many attempts are made to contact that person. And also we have an appeals process in place. So like you said, if they all their emails have gone into spam or not been received for some reason, then the club will look at it and try and get a fair outcome.
I think the other angle on that is that fair on all the people that did pay for Burnley and didn't necessarily want to go and watch that match, but did so in order to ensure that they got their credits for the finals? That's the flip side I would make if I was a supporter.
Yeah.
Which I am, for the record, before you think I'm a City fan or something like that.
One of the things I always see on social media, Sam, maybe you can confirm it. So I want to know, like, when we draw a home cup game, do you actually celebrate with a bottle of champagne?
No, but someone in the team this morning said, have you got a big red button that you can hit halfway through tonight's meeting? No, I don't. Because
you don't hear the sound of all the money rolling in when the home cup draw's done.
Yeah, I do not bath in cash or any of the images that you see going around Twitter when we get drawn at home. In fact, it just creates no end of work, and
so I should imagine it creates more work for you. So.
Yeah,
it does. And in terms of revenue for the club, we actually get more revenue from away draws than we do from home games because we pay out 55% to the away team in the league.
Zig, you had a question?
Yeah, just to go back to the credit cards, because I'm a neurotic when it comes to football and watching United. I include 2 credit cards all the time. If one were to be declined, would you automatically go to the next one?
No, but we should be doing that. It's a system development. But what we can do is review and see if there's something manual we can do there. The issue we have is for each payment run, inclusive of games like Barcelona, 10 to 15% initially decline. So that's 10,000 to 5 to 7,500 decline payments. And it'd be a lot to get through and try a manual reattempt on a second stored card. We do have a request in for the system to automatically do that. But we'll just update in due course as quickly as we can.
Well, what about with away games? So I've heard that if the card declines for an away game, it automatically the ticket will pass on to whoever next, and there's no contact with the season ticket holder to say your card's been declined, but you've got an away game. Is that correct?
That is correct. That is choice rather than design. So if people would prefer us to give a 24-hour window to anyone whose payment declines, and then those tickets, which could be significant numbers, go into the reformed returns policy, that would be fine.
Yeah, that's something.
And again, that doesn't even need to be a fans forum one.
Okay.
Ian, if must want to do a poll and let us know, just let us know.
Yeah, sure. Dips, if you
For home
could.
games, we do reserve tickets. For away games,
No.
we don't. It's just a historic thing that we can review.
Sure.
Maybe worth just while Dips email.
Please.
Okay, look, these questions aren't going down, so can we fire through a few as quickly as possible now, please? Fast from Howard Wheatcroft. Yeah, that's fastest fingers first is going to go, Howard. That's been agreed already. Ballot results on the survey of fans for away tickets will be released soon. But it looks like option 4 is getting the most votes at the moment. Alan Cheatham, there's a widespread dissatisfaction with the standard pots. Success rate for aways. Eligibility for the standard pot is currently only based on tickets purchased, i.e. financial clout, rather than games attended. Would it be fairer and more just if weighting in the ballot was based on home games attended to reward loyalty?
My personal view is yes, that would be fairer. There'd be a lot of people disagreed with me. I think we'd need a huge consultation piece on it. And being completely honest, we need to have far more robust systems in place before we take a plunge like that. For example, we have old turnstiles that mean people will get pedaled in and won't get registered as scanning, and we're learning how many of these issues there are as we go through the communications to people about how many games they've attended this season. So yes, that would feel like a fairer thing to me. There'd be lots of fans that would disagree that that was fair. I think we're a good couple of years off making any wholesale changes to away games.
Yeah. Thanks for the question. Question from Joe Div Tedesco. Thanks for this opportunity. We have a number of season tickets and each ticket must be on the name of a person. Being a supporters club ticket, we put names of committee members, but committee members change. When I asked to replace the names of the tickets when new committee members come in, I was told to change the name. The seat has to be moved to a different location and the category gets downgraded, silver to red, I would imagine. Hence, we have a season tickets with names of ex-committee members who have left committee years ago just because of the rules. Is there a possibility of changing names of supporters clubs tickets without having to move the seat and lose the category status? Should imagine this is a problem for all MUCs.
I'll start to answer really quickly. It's not because I'm being blunt, it's just because the questions going on. So Joseph, just put all your season tickets into Malta MUSC. We won't make you move. They'll just need to be forwarded to the recipients for each match.
Great answer. Excellent. Peter Coley, I'm a supporter celebrating 50 years of attending Old Trafford. Good going. I frequently encounter a problem with buying tickets via the website. Seats show as available, then disappear. It looks more than one member is trying to buy the seats. Simultaneously, is the ticketing system robust enough to handle the volume of potential sales?
Yes, it is. What we will start to do in any major release, we will now put a queue on. And once people get to the front of that queue, we will reduce the number of people that can get in, because if you just open it, the system can handle 500,000 people on a seating plan. What we can't do is provide 500,000 seats. So we will throttle people in and at an appropriate pace for those major releases. Where this doesn't help is with us having the buyback scheme now. Yeah. Someone can go on and cancel a ticket at any time. You can click buy now on that game. It will show there's a ticket in 3105, which isn't one of the £195 hospitality bonds, which I get are causing controversy. By the time you go into the block, somebody else has picked it. Yeah. On average, they're saying there's sat on our site at any time, and this includes bots, 20,000 people on average. That's 20 times bigger than any other client they have. So there's a number of things we're considering ahead of next season, like when you as a season ticket holder go and list your ticket for resale, not allowing that to be immediately resold, storing it up until we have a few hundred of those, and then queuing people to get in through a release. And then it all gets very technical and boring, but we are looking at what we can do to sort that issue, because it is infuriating for everyone.
Right, the top comment now, most upvoted, is a compliment, not a question. Thanks for the openness, Sam, much appreciated. There we go. It's working. Andrew Tempest. Can I just thank you all, especially Sam, for his time explaining what is going on behind the scenes. Stop it. His head's big enough already. Glenn, I think we've answered that one really about touting and tickets available on third-party sites. Quite often those tickets don't even exist. Andrew Tempest, the easiest way to find out the dates of matches changes is the MUFC calendar. Thanks for your help with that one, Andrew. Appreciated. John Jones, elderly season ticket holders want a much easier way of transferring our tickets to family members who are also members of MUFC. If we cannot attend a home game, can this be done within 72 hours of a game? Can we pay for the difference of the price online? I think that all can be done, can't it, Sam?
It all can be done. If you ring the call centre, we will share your screen and talk you through it, and I guarantee you will have no problems after a 5-minute training session.
Excellent.
Unless it crashes, which is out of our control. Sorry.
Oh, right. Okay. Comment from Alan. English. Avoid the away ballot mess nicely. Simple solution. If you're successful in the ballot, you miss the next 3. So.
Wider subgroup.
Yeah, exactly. Something to be explored. Julie Dixon. How can members who get tickets buy back the season ticket holders' returns? How can members who can't get tickets buy back the season ticket holders' returns? They're all just released on the ticketing site, aren't they, Sam?
Yeah, so it's released in real time. The issue you have is a season ticket holder may release a seat every 10 minutes in a 15-week period leading up to a game. With the thousands of people sat on the site, you don't see them. So it ties into the point where I was talking about storing them up. Change we've made for members this season is we do the big on sale in June around the fixture release date. We then announce a couple more, and we committed to an 8-week ticket release. What we'll probably look before each match, what we'll probably look to do next season is make that a 12, 10, 8, 6 and 4-week release, which gives a lot more visibility and advance notice of when those tickets are going to be dropping.
Yep. Philip Brooks asks, perhaps I should know this already, but do we have representation of those who attend European away games on the fans forum? I think that's probably all of us on here, isn't it?
It's not a dedicated position, but we always make sure through the selection process that European away travellers are considered.
I think part of the process and is to choose the most suitable person. And if someone was a home away European, whether it be member season ticket holder in whatever category, then that would put them in a very good position to be able to get onto the fans forum.
Well, when I was appointed to the fans forum, and in the brief period I've been on it, I've insisted, as also in my brief profile, that although I may be formally nominated as a representative for the loyalty part, I might see my brief as covering all United fans who go to matches. And I'm sure some of my other colleagues on the fans forum feel the same. I go to just about all the European away games as well. So in a sense, I'm rolled into, as the fans forum representative. I'm also happy to be the European away representative, or whatever else you want to call me.
You're a very good representative on it, Zig, in the short time that you've been on.
Thank you.
I think we've answered that question with Zig, with his previous answer there. He's on maximum credits. There's someone who's a seasoned home and away and European traveller. Thanks for your question. Rachel Dalton Woods, when is the seat move option available? My brother has paid £8,000 over the last 2 seasons in hospitality and can't afford to continue and wants a season ticket near me. Just worth covering that one quickly again, Sam. I know you've answered it already.
That's a bit different to a seat move, because it would be a move from an exec club member to a season ticket, but if he'll have a designated account manager as an exec club client. If he contacts them, they'll be able to sort that out.
Excellent, thank you. Simon Bond, was it purely down to cost, a decision to stop issuing season ticket holders with a hard copy of the yearbook?
Yes.
Excellent.
Sorry, right, I should contextualize that more. So we stopped doing the hard copy of the yearbook once we introduced digital ticketing. Digital ticketing was a Premier League mandate. It wasn't something we chose to do. We had no digital capabilities at that time. So we launched the most basic of digital ticketing schemes, i.e. what would be the easiest for fans to use. We're going to look to make that more sophisticated, maybe for next season, maybe in future seasons. But to post out 55,000 yearbooks cost £200,000, and frankly, no one wants them. But we do keep hard copies at the ticket office, which is a maximum of 150 metres from anyone's entrance. Going to get 10,000 people at the ticket office at the next game, and we don't have 10,000. Just throwing that out now.
Good question here from Jonathan Neal. Who is responsible for the sale of away tickets for women's fixtures? The reason for asking is because I've had to create accounts with many clubs to obtain a ticket as an away supporter.
Oh, Mark or Deborah, do you want to answer, or shall I?
Do you want me to start, and then Deborah can come in, and you can wrap it up nicely, Sam?
Yeah.
So it's a vein of all of our lives, John. It is something that we're asking the club to look at. It's something that the club are looking at. The club are working with us as a supporters club to change this. However, as Sam will probably tell you, it is an FA thing. It is not club to club. And it's the bane of my life.
It basically means you've got to have an account. Obviously, it's different from men's game. Games aren't oversubscribed, so you can just go and buy a ticket as an away fan, but you have to buy that ticket through the home team. And to do so, to give some context to the question, you have to have an account for every single club, which is great because at Christmas, you're on their mailing list, you get an email asking if you want their Christmas jumper. But at the moment, it's something we're working on, and I know it's gone to FSA level, just to take the hassle out of it and actually make it easier for people to go to games. It's a work in progress, I think, is the easy answer, Sam. As you as you start to eat something, so the timing stinks.
Yes, it's a work in progress.
It's something we are trying to make happen, but it's not just a United thing. Effectively, it has to be across the league and obviously into both the Super League and the Championship, thinking about Sunderland in a couple of weeks. So watch this space, and hopefully it's likely to be after away sections happen. Would you say they're going to be the first thing?
They're realistically going to be the first thing. There's a handful of games this season where we have done it. We are keen to allocate tickets ourselves. It makes sense for those tickets to be digital. So I think there's two things. There's a league requirement on away segregated areas for women's matches. And then there's also a league-wide system development where digital ticketing can work between two clubs. But I don't see either of those being a million miles off.
Okay. Question from Steve Howard Jones. Excuse me, Hayward Jones. Recollections. What did the club do to record a season tickets account on a season tickets account? That collection has been made. Last season had 3 collections, whereas Friends didn't have any. It appears that you could be selected at random per game, regardless of your previous collections.
So we won't. This is a crossover of a couple of things, and I think Steve might have emailed in the last week or so actually and got an answer to this. The only time that would happen is if someone didn't collect, they go back on they need to collect next time list. I'm not saying that's what's happened here. I think we did a loyalty pot collection. I'll get this wrong, at Everton away last season, which was towards the end of the season. We then did another loyalty pot collection at the beginning of this season, and we then made a commitment that anyone buying tickets, because we have bots and touts buying up all the returns with the fastest finger first option, anyone who buys in the week leading up to the game will be asked to collect. And I think it's those 3 things, i.e. loyalty pot at the end of last season, loyalty pot at the start of this season, and buying a return in the week leading up to a game, that have led to the 3 collections.
Okay.
I think that's correct, yeah.
From you, Chowdhury, is there any data on... Excuse me. Is there any data on how long people spend on the season ticket waiting list until they get offered one? We'll be interested in deposit versus no deposit as well?
There's no real historical data because, being completely honest, until about 4 years ago, the waiting list didn't really exist. If we now looked at the number of people registered on the waiting list and the average churn over the last 5 years, it would be an 82-year waiting list. We know there's a lot of rubbish on there, being completely honest, and duplication, albeit via different email accounts, so you can't spot that duplication. So when you drill down and look into the tiers we have in there, the realistic time is an 8 to 12-year wait based on 5-year churn. Priority will be given to cup season ticket holders. Based on the way things are going this season, I'd expect around 50% of those to be offered a season ticket next season. So you're talking 2 years to get through the cup season ticket holders, and then another 4 years to get through deposits before you even get to members on the waiting list.
And that demand's going to increase as well, isn't it? Right. Thanks for
And that was all. I can give actual written stats on that. That was roughly correct what I just said.
Brian's asking for Brian Griffiths asking for some clarifications from what he's just heard. When you return your ticket to the club as an over 65, is it correct that that is counted as you attending and will count towards your 1019 rule?
So in terms of anyone but an over 65, yes. The current policy is that an over 65 needs to personally attend 10 of the 19 games, i.e. they have to go and scan in themselves and be at that game. That is being reviewed ahead of the launch of renewals. And if we scrap that wrong policy, then it will be backdated to this season and no one will be sanctioned because of it.
There we are, Brian. So watch out. I think there'll be some news on that shortly, hopefully positive. Thanks. Deborah Hussain. Deborah contacts me quite a bit. She, her and her mum are members. So again, why were Bath and Forest semi-final home tickets not based on attendance at previous rounds? That is something that was going to go to taking into account previous games that you've attended, especially in the group games this season. So that is going to be a fix, and hopefully that's going to be ratified at the fans forum ahead of the next game after Barcelona.
Just to flag one thing on that, Ian.
Yeah.
And this is for the conversation with the fans forum as opposed to now. I'm not sure we would have categorised Forest as a big game, despite it being a semi. And we can go into the pros and cons. Barcelona's definitely.
Yeah.
Juventus, once we've beaten Barcelona, definitely. But you don't necessarily see a correlation between lateness of round and demand for the game. But we'll have that separately.
Thank you. Question from Dean Marsland. We constantly get advised by the ticket office to enter the ground as early as possible. There's been a lot of congestion at most games recently, which is good advice. So this is good advice. With cheaper beer on sale, most would want to watch early televised games, other teams' news, etc. But we don't have Sky Sports on the concourses. Corporates have all Sky Sports. Could different options be available on the concourse TVs?
They should be, and we should pick up and survey season ticket holders and see what they want.
Rachel Dalton Woods, can we have a named person for each section of the stadium? I think this means in the ticket office, so that when you're contacting people, people are aware what's happening in each side. Would that be feasible?
I don't really understand it, sorry.
We'll send that through. That one is more specific. We'll send that through. Let me just look through this. To be clear, for EFL Cup final, how do you rate credits for a season ticket holder attending all cup games, but could make all Premier League games? Sorry, I don't totally understand that. I think how are you counting the credits if we do make a Carabao Cup final? So are we calculating credits?
Based purely just on cup games.
Just on cup games.
Just on cup games, which is the way it's historically been.
Okay. Just move some of these. Done. Owen, thanks for your question. The answer, you'll have it at the end of this month, beginning of next month. Colin Wood, is there some way that season e-tickets can be used for cup as well as league games instead of having to download additional e-tickets each time?
Maybe like the use of an app, would that be something they would develop in the future? So everything will just, you get all of your tickets, because we're having to download each cup ticket constantly.
So anything
right.
is possible. We could we made a conscious decision to deliver cup season tickets, because one of the issues we had when we remotely added access to a physical season ticket card for a cup game was hundreds of people turning up thinking they'd paid when they hadn't. So we thought it was an easier message to communicate that you've bought your season ticket, that automatically gets you into every game. And if you have a cup ticket, you've paid for it. We've got lots of options with that. We can deliver a ticket for every single game and then make it disappear from your wallet when it's deactivated. We can do it via an app, which is something we're looking at. There's loads of options. Sounds like another survey to me of what the majority want.
Because obviously with the season ticket cards, it was all just on there, and all the cup games were on there too, weren't they? So it was just easy to use. But yeah, hopefully we can look at that as well.
Yeah, we can look at that.
Yep, okay, thanks for that. Question from Lee Williams. Why not just go back to the old system for membership home tickets 8 weeks in advance of the game? The club prefer all the revenue up front for the season.
He said that again, he cut out for me at the back end.
Yeah, sorry. Question from Lee Williams. Why not just go back to the old system for membership home tickets 8 weeks in advance of the game? Or does the club prefer all the revenue up front for the season? Yeah,
all the revenue up front really doesn't make that much sense. And 90% of tickets are sold in the 8 weeks leading up to the games. We've got a lot of people that need to make travel arrangements, whether that be from outside of Europe, in Europe, Ireland, all over the place. So I think it naturally splits into the categories he's looking at anyway. So there's a smaller number of tickets made available much further out from the game, which enables people from outside the UK to book travel, might be doing it as part of a holiday. But the vast majority of tickets that come up in the 2 to 3 months leading up to the game anyway.
Okay, thank you. Good question from Amit Basu. Really good session. Thanks to Must and Sam for arranging. With respect to the question asked via Zig and Sam's reply, I would hope that those who sold their tickets for Burnley back to the club, I assume it means, for the EFL Cup on the 21st of December to accommodate the relocation of opted-in season ticket holders from the reduction of capacity at Old Trafford to 62. Yeah.
Sorry, no one will be. So we didn't turn on buyback. That's correct, but we did the 10,000 reduction. No one will be impacted. They will count as having the credit for that game for the final.
Brilliant. Oh, that answers it there for you. Amit, thank you. Through Tempest, I've got a collection at Arsenal away. I applied for Chelsea away, but transferred at your request to reduce due to strikes. Why have I got to collect?
We did highlight before people cancelled that they would need to collect any guaranteed ticket from a future game.
Okay.
It's not that we pulled that out after the decision was made.
Okay. Question from Mike Turner. Read the season ticket seat move question. I would welcome an open one-to-one discussion with Sam offline. Mike would like to speak to you a little bit more about that. Would that be possible?
Yeah.
Follow that up and pass an email address on afterwards. Thank you, Mike. Jack Thomas, how do you go about a home cup game seat relocation? Could there be an option to choose the new seat for the next game? Could we be able to choose to be seated next to someone within a new ticket relationship scheme? We kind of covered the issues with relocations previously.
Issues with relocation. So another system development we have is the ability for people to move seats they've been allocated online themselves. In terms of let me take it away and see if there's other options we have. There might be an option where we could put a 24-hour window in for people to go and purchase a new seat before we run the cut payments and then not take their cut payments.
Yeah.
But thinking it through, the availability is going to be extremely minimal. It's not going to be seats that people want. So the current answer to the question is once your ticket has been processed, call us and we will manually look to move you.
Yeah.
But we do have ambitions to enable people to self-serve going forwards.
Yeah. Quick statement by Vinny Kelly: 40% of the away collections are not collected. Is this seen as progress in potentially up to 1,200 tickets per game are bought by people who don't intend going?
I don't think it's progress. I think what we know is that when we ran this exercise pre-COVID, we started at these numbers. And after we'd got through a season of doing the collections and people realized it wasn't just going to be a one-off collection, that non-collection rate or redistribution rate dropped significantly, which was also in line with a significant reduction in applications. So no, 40% isn't an improvement, but I would anticipate by the end of the season it'd be more like 20%, providing we keep the checks going.
Yeah. Question from tab 10. Interesting name. Why have the away support some of the best seats in Old Trafford? Do we think they do?
Premier League rules say that you need to have at least one block of tickets pitch side. Technically, we don't achieve that because ours are in the upper section of the first tier, but the Premier League consider that acceptable because the whole of the allocation is there. It's been there 30 years now. I touched on the point earlier that we considered moving away fans to tier 3 and got significant pushback from season ticket holders in tier 3. We've got season ticket holders in every area of the stadium. It's just one of those things that we need to look at when we get to stadium redevelopment.
Why do ballots close in the morning at 8 AM? Would it be better to leave it until closing the ballot when the ticket office has been open for an hour, just to help people out who may have issues?
I think that's just a comms thing. Historically, we would close the ballot at 8 PM when we historically opened the office until 8 PM and closed the phone lines then. We then said, what's the point in reducing it by 12 hours for no reason? So we can announce that the deadline is 6 PM, the working day before, and then leave them open for another 12 hours because it just doesn't harm anyone, or we can time them to turn off earlier. The reason it's done as 8 AM is someone will come in at 8 AM, close them and start running the ballot.
Okay. I'm conscious there's quite a number of tickets, questions left open, but we've got 5 minutes left. And again, what we'll do is we'll get a record of all these questions and endeavour to try and get back to you with an answer as soon as possible. I'm sure we've got Sam's cooperation with that. So thanks to everyone who has put questions in. We've answered 65 of them, but we still have 56 open. So there's absolutely no chance we're going to get. I think it'd be nice just to kind of sum up what's been done tonight, if we've liked the format, whether we'd like to do it again. You've all been excellent panelists, and thank you again, Sam, for taking your time. I'm conscious that we've not covered a lot from the women's game. I think that's a big part of our support now, and something that's going to grow. And I'm sure there'll be. We would like to give more opportunities for people from the women's game to be able to ask questions about ticketing. Any closing comments from panelists?
I'd like to sort of thank the club in general and Sam in particular about the undoubted improvement in communication. As someone who's been going for a long time, the change that's been happening this season, and I'd like to say that what you termed a long email that was sent out, what was it, about a month ago, that was one of the most effective ways, and this has been confirmed even by some of the most skeptical of the people I know when it comes to what the ticket office done. There was very little complaint about dropped you a note, but I think I should want to publicly state it from anybody. People appreciated that. And I think as long as the communications are effective and we're very much moving in the right direction, I think there's no doubt about that. you know, I think that will be appreciated, and will probably in the long term also create less bother for the ticket office and the membership office in particular.
I agree with what you've just said there, actually, and I really appreciate the openness, Sam, and answering these questions for us. Fundamentally, all we're after is fairness, open communication, and just rewarding loyalty of your hardcore support. And I think once that's all transparent, I think I think it will work very well. And please, can I have leads in the ballot?
Once we find out a bit more-
Only took 2 hours, but we got there.
I was going to echo what you guys have said, because apart from Ten Hag, Sam, you probably got one of the hardest jobs at the club. So I appreciate the openness and the time that's gone into this session. And like the guys have said, there's been a lot of progressive discussion and communication over the last few years. And we know you fight our corner with things like the Chelsea away stuff as well. So more sessions like this will help as well. So just want to thank you all for your time, and it's good progress.
Yes, thanks, Dave.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can't really say many more than the other guys have said, Sam. Everything that when we've ever spoken, you've always said, let me go away, let me come back to you. And we've always come to a solution. And it's just, as Zig said, it's just having that dialogue now with the club that someone will come back and relate back to us and be fighting for the fans as much as you and some of the ticketing team that I've spoken to on the women's side of things. It's, really good.
And there's lots, just on that point, there's lots of people now fighting that cause in the club.
Appreciate that,
It
Sam.
was a handful, but we're getting there in terms of having the right people on board as well.
Can I just add my thanks to Ian as well as Sam? I'm not ignoring you, Sam, but I think everybody's blown a bit of smoke already this evening. So I'll thank Ian for this, because I think one of the frustrations sometimes is having information and not being in a position to share it, and therefore people will assume all manner of things. So I think something like this is great to demystify a lot of things. I know we all see people at games that ask us questions. Sometimes we'll have the answers, sometimes we won't, but rather than people holding on to those concerns and it becoming something it doesn't need to, I think a forum like this has been really useful. And yeah, thanks for sorting in, and thanks for your openness, Sam.
Thank you, Deborah. Appreciate it.
Right. Can I go and have my tea now?
Thanks again for joining. Thanks for everyone who's been listening
Okay.
and watching it live.
All the
Thanks for
best to
submitting your
everyone.
questions. We'll do another one.
Love you at Palace on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I didn't. I got chubbed.
We got rid of him 22 years ago. Stop saying his name.
The legacy lives on.
It's the legacy lives on, Sam.
Should we call it Kellard now?
Yeah, no, stick with Chubb.
Right.
Thanks
Just
all.
from me, thank you very much
Bye.
for the
Bye.
opportunity, and
Thank
I'm
you.
happy to
Bye.
join anytime.